We go. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode 55. We are on the final appearance in Classic Who of both the Silurians and the Sea Devils. They make a one-off return in the story in the 21st season of the show. The Silurians, by the time this story came out, this was the first time they appeared on TV in 14 years. And the Sea Devils, frickin' 12. Yes, 12. What story is this one? Why, it's the opening story of season 21, Warriors of the Deep. Now, like the Sea Devils, why I felt a bit confused about the whole story, this was a cohesive story. Because it's Peter David. Because he's never had you could say kind of. Resurrection Dialects came afterwards. It's a bit confusing, a bit small places. This one, I didn't feel confused at all. It felt like it was like a really good story, spread of course 4 episodes. Excuse me. So it starts out basically in the future, which they identify the year as 2084, which makes the episode exactly 100 years in the future for reasons. Yep. So you have basically this sea base. Yes, a sea base. So like, a sea base. We're underwater. It's a base under siege story. Yes, this is something that was very common for a Second Doctor, and this is something they've occasionally brought back, and I like this. I really do. Now, you might be thinking, is this the first time in Peter Davis's run where you have he's at a base and it's put under siege? I think this may have been the only time I could think of this has happened. Yeah, on the top of my head, I think this was the only story this ever happened in for his entire run. And you're thinking, how would you suspect that? Well, what about the stories in the previous season, until season 20? No, none that I can think of. They are basically all self-contained stories. It was a very small-scale threat. This is probably the only one, aside from 5 Doctors, this one actually felt like a much bigger threat. Oh yeah, and by the way, the whole thing with the previous one, Arc Infinity, we're like, oh, worry about the Time Matrix. Okay, but is the planet under attack? No, just the freaking Matrix. This one, a whole freaking base under siege. I'll get to that. So, we see Return of the Silurians, which apparently there's only 3 in the story, which is strange. You think, Return of the Silurians, there'd be a little bit more? No, there's only 3 for some reason, and they revived the Sea Devils, which they give them a brand new, updated look. Which, yeah, this DVD cover is not a full thing of it. Oh, and here's a fun fact for you about this look for the Sea Devils. Did you know any other time that the Sea Devils popped up in other media, they have this look, not the fishnet look they had in their debut appearance? Also, for one thing, they're not sure like a joke they were in the debut, where they're easily defeated by freaking bullets. Yes, shoot them, they're done. Here, the treating a lot more scarier. Apparently, Johnny Byrne, he may have watched both stories. He must have realized, though, yeah, there's some elements of these stories basically like. For one thing, you gotta praise this one over the original one. The fact it's shorter, only 4 episodes. Oh, and thanks to, I think it was, I saw a couple reviews of this one, where I think it was Nash from Dead Air, and I think there was S of Debris. Nash revealed that the same year this story came out, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of the UK, and he decided to have an emergency election. And also the budget got slashed this episode. Yes. I mean, the best thing with this episode is the acting and the writing. And of course the sets look pretty good too, though, with the standard sets we see for this stuff. Oh wait, there is actually one I can think of where we have sort of a base under siege. But it's not like basically happened like half of the story. It happened like very beginning. The only time actually there is one story that is it kind of happen. And that would happen in Resurrection Dialects. Yeah, but that happened early on in the story, not like this one happened like partway through it. Yeah, but that happened after this one. Before this one? No, this never happened before. Yeah, we have an after they just invading their wherever they are. So, a Dr. Tegan and Turlo, when they arrive in orbit of Earth, goes, oh, Doctor wants the Tegan to see her briefly in the future. Thinking, okay, interesting. And you're probably thinking, okay, what was the previous story for this one? I think it was the Five Doctors was the previous one before this one. Yeah, was the Five Doctors. That only aired just 2 months prior. Yeah, only been just a couple months. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to basically when the next time that, well, the Silurian Sea Devils next appear, because it's quite interesting the next time they appear. So, we have Vardak, apparently last of the Triad, who last appeared back in the Doctor of Silurians. Though they gave the Silurians an updated look. Now, I do have their previous look here, because their previous look, they look like this. Yes, this is Doctor Who and the Silurians. The original story I have reviewed already. Yeah, so, yeah, and this is interesting about some of the stuff we see in here. So, they want to attack the base because, of course, Landon Stern feel they want to destroy the world to take it over. Like, okay, interesting. Standard Silurian plan. This time they would weapons instead of a virus, which I thought that was interesting. I'm glad the fact they did it with different method this time. Yes. So, yeah, apparently now they have new stuff. Like, apparently they have a ship now. Which Doc knows about for some reason. Yeah, that's something a bit questionable about this story. Where I get how him knowing the lead of the Silurians, fine. But some of stuff related to them, basically, like, what did he question? Like, hey, didn't you look different last time I saw you? Yeah, the Sea Devils, which I think the difference here is a lot more cooler than the last ones, in my opinion. So we get the Sea Devils, and they're treated as henchmen to the three Silurians, which is strange. Now, here's the thing. And the last time they had Silurians, they actually had more than 3 show up. I think they had like about 10, 12 of them. And Vardak apparently is the one who survived. A freaking explosion was caused by the Brigadier, which, of course, they kind of reference in the story a little bit, which, not surprising. So, oh yeah, where that's the Triad, they wake him up and like, oh yeah, we want to attack the base. Okay. So, the last time I saw something of this scale, where we have a base under siege, was, to my knowledge, in Doctor Who, prior to this, I think was in Revenge of the Cybermen back in 1974. Yeah, 10 years prior to this. And you're thinking, wait, they didn't have anything like a scale like this since then? Yeah, and both of them feature returning monsters. Though, Revenge of the Cybermen, basically, they have a different reason why they had to invade the Ark in space. That one they made a space, this one they made a sea base. Which is different. I'm sure that Johnny Burnham himself probably was a fan. He must have liked the base on the sea stuff, so why not bring it back? And plus, they were still kind of still celebrating the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who, so why not bring back not only the Doctor Who, not only bring back the Silurian Sea Devils, but bring back a popular concept from Second Doctor era, the base on the sea stuff. That's my guess what happened here. Because, okay, by the way, this right here, that's the look they had the Sea Devils in the original story. Here it's like completely different. We're more of a samurai look, which is their definitive look since then. Heck, when they returned, saw images when they popped up for Current Who, they kept this look. I'll get to more of that. So, they get, of course, the Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough, they arrive at Earth orbit, and they're attacked by this satellite, which appears only early on in the story. And after it was mentioned a couple times afterwards, it's like this whole plot point of this Satellite 6 trying to attack them. It just was dropped with the storm. Like, what? Well, there kind of is a reason why, because they disappeared and they never went back to it all. So, then we had them basically look around the base trying to repair the TARDIS because they got damaged. Excuse my selling. Of course, they get separated. Turlough gets captured. And explains to them they're not saboteurs, not enemy agents, they're not whatever. We just got here by accident, we're trying to repair the TARDIS. And then the doctor shows up, who at one point, like, he's seen, like, his outfit at the start of the story, and then he basically is seen in a radiation suit. And there's a couple of little fun facts about the story. Well, not only is the last time we've seen Class Act 2 of the Silurian Sea Devils, this one also had the final appearance of the Fifth Doctor's original outfit he had. Because with the very next story, they replaced his outfit. Yes, they replaced the vest part of it, which was a bunch of question marks. Yeah, he started wearing like a cricket-style outfit. Not sure why they changed it for, but they did. This was the last time. And here's another fun fact about this one. Now, I found this out from Nash. I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently with this story, Peter Davidson and the actors who played Tegan gave their notice that toward the end of the season, they were basically leaving the show. Tegan will leave with the fourth to last story of the season. Peter Davidson will leave with the penultimate story. And in between, Charlie will leave. So yeah, basically, yeah, Charlie. I didn't hear anything about the actor who played Charlie if he was going to leave the show, but here too, yeah, they gave notice. Like, I think because of the story, basically, this is what caused him to leave the show. But I have heard that the reason why that Peter Davison left the show was now the reason why because he got advice from Patrick Troughton to stay no longer than 3 years, otherwise avoid being typecast, which would happen with him. So Peter Davison kind of continued that trend that Patrick Troughton started, stay for 3 years, then leave. So that's required kind of the same thing with him. But now Colin Baker, oh no, he got 2 seasons and he got fired from the show. He wasn't like allowed to leave. He got kicked off the show. But he's something else. I'll talk about Colin Baker at a later point. So, and of course, Doctor sees, oh yeah, that's the Silurian ship, and of course the power is taken from them. Of course, they launch a full-scale attack at the base. Also, apparently, from what I heard, there's something Nash mentioned. Apparently, the guys who wear the suits for the Silurian suits, this one, they apparently cannot see where they're going. Yeah, which is strange. And there's something pops up a little bit later. So then they start trying to invade the base. So Doctor goes airlock 1, while another officer the captain goes airlock 5, which airlock 5 has got the frickin' Sea Devils. And as for airlock 1, it's the Merca. Yes, the Merca, who looks like an okay-looking costume. But, oh boy, I heard that I heard about this particular suit, when the two operators, they apparently were basically breathing paint fumes, and these two guys nearly died in this story because they couldn't fucking breathe. Yes, seriously, they could not breathe. And so and by the way, there's a subplot here about there's the chief medical officer and possibly the first officer of this base where they're basically trying to sabotage it for a rival country. Yeah, and apparently, can't contact the outside world because basically radio silence, because anyone knows exactly where they are. And yeah, later in the story, he does try to contact them. But they're basically, what we explain here is that we have this missile operator who has to push a button, and he's hesitant to do this. Though he's also been programmed, let's say trained to operate this thing, to use a computer to fire a missile, like press this button to fire a missile, press this button, and he feels so hesitant to do it. Yell's probably just got a girl for the story who thinks they're brainwashing and ends up killing her. Yeah, that was pointless. Yeah, so, yeah, and of course they sabotage missile control, and they all did was sabotage the missile and the communications. They didn't sabotage anything else, not the radiation, nothing. So, that guy gets killed. By the way, like every single character in this story that's not the Doctor and his companions, they all die by the end of the story. And I mean, everybody dies. It's like, this is only like 1 or 2 stories I've seen it where, like, nobody is left alive by the end of the story. And I do mean nobody. And you're like, really? Yes. The only time I've seen this was actually in classic Doctor Story, The Horror Thing Rock. But I'll get to that when I get a chance to do that story, because that features a creature that fights the Centaurans, and that was his only appearance ever in Doctor Who with this alien. Yeah, so. And of course, you have where they have this control disc, and the Doctor is a traitor, and then she tries to karate this creature, which he ends up killing by simply touching the creature by electricity. So the only way to kill the Merca is with a artificial sun. Yeah, which Doctor cooks up, what basically that brings in the spot, and he fires it twice in the story. First to kill the Merca, and then to kill the traitor. Yeah, and then of course they eventually break into the bridge. Yeah, and somebody on the Merca is killed. They say destroyed, but he was killed. Yeah, and of course some of the Sea Devils are killed. Though how they killed the Sea Devils and the Silurians is a different method than they used last time. I gotta admit, this is way different than the last one. They used gas, very special gas that is basically what reptiles are weak against. I'm like, okay, use a gas this time, better than freaking bullets. Yeah. So, by the end, all the Sea Devils in this story are dead. By the way, we also have a really cool scene here where the lead Silurian, talks to Doctor, and he mentions what happens in the episode Doctor the Silurians, which was something. I was kind of surprised. I don't know if this is the same actor who played the same character from that story. I don't know. Same voice, but I think it may be a different actor. I think the Sea Devil lead one, that probably was the same guy from the original one. Okay, fine. But this overall was a really fun story. And in my opinion of the three, I like this one the best because it's short. It didn't feel as though basically it dragged out. I'd say this is, like, if you think of like the Trojan Beneath the Surface stuff, I'd say the Silurian's really good. Sea Devil was a bit confusing, but okay story. This one I felt was a lot better. Yeah. Now, as for when they returned, oh boy. Did they return by Colin Baker or Spence McCoy? Nope. Paul McGann? No chance because it was just a movie. Chris Eccleston? Nope. David Tennison? Nope. Matt Smith? Yes. And a two-part known as Hunger Cause Cold Blood, which came out in 2010. So it took approximately, get this, 26 years for them to return. Yes. As for the frickin' Sea Devils, they would not return until 38 years later in the penultimate story of Jodie Whittaker's time on Doctor Who. Yes, seriously. Yeah, they also have minor appearances in Mind of Evil, Frontier in Space, Pentagon Opens, A Good Man Goes to War, The Whitney River Song, Dinosaurs in Spaceship, and Face of the Raven. Yeah, those are my appearances. So, yeah, the Silurians, well, I've covered their two appearances in Classic Doctor Who, and Sea Devils, yep. My only guess is the reason why Johnny Byrne did this for, when he decided to do this story, is like, ooh, cool, let's just have basically two Classic Who monsters team with each other for this story, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, so I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. I gotta admit, this is a really fun story, and I do really enjoy it. Okay? So yeah, that's it, particular review. Next up, I'm going to do one comic corner, I'm going to hit straight to do it on my smartphone, okay? Next video. Bye.